Good morning, all my friends. Welcome to my backyard garden. Thank you so much for joining me. We have been doing these lives weekly in the backyard now for a solid year. And it's been a solid year since I've been in business for myself. So it's kind of exciting times. All of that being said, it's also been raining a lot around here. And so we've been managing ourselves like a tropical climate again, which was kind of strange because we had that crazy freeze. We had a very long, dry winter. And so now we're adjusting back to what we are a little bit more used to. Of course, one of those things we're a little bit more used to is the mosquitoes. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that this morning because there's been a lot of conversations about mosquitoes. There's been a lot of conversations about how people are handling that, how gardeners are handling that. And I want to be really straightforward about the concept that we are already having, especially in the urban areas, challenges with bees for pollination. And because of that, anything that we do that is a broad spray, and for those of you that have been listening for a while, you know what I mean when I say that, but I'm going to explain it again. Broad spray means that I just spray something that kills, repels all over the place. I hit everything up with it. And when I do a broad spray, that means every type of insect, whether it's a pest or a beneficial, will be affected by the repellent or the broad spray. Now, some other options you can do when you're speaking specifically about pest control in your garden is you can do directed things with your, I got distracted by Joe. He's paying attention to the chickens and the dog back there in the back. So what you can do is pay direct attention to one particular plant. My honest answer is 9 times out of 10, if you're having a pest issue, it is a soil problem more than anything else. And we'll talk about that just here in just a second. But most likely, if you have an infestation of one plant, then you just need to get rid of that one plant. That plant's not healthy enough to fight its own battles. And what you're trying to do, if you're working to create an intuitive garden, a lazy garden like me, a sustainable garden that doesn't cost you a lot of money, then you don't want to go and just do a massive, expensive broad spray. Okay, now a lot of you folks understand that. However, when it comes to mosquitoes, it starts to become more than you can handle. It keeps you out of your gardens. It keeps you in a situation where you just don't want to get out there. And I promise you, I get it, because I've been in it day after day after day over the last couple of weeks. So I've come up with a couple of things that I've done in solution to that. One of those is that someone introduced me to this concept of a thermocell. Now this is a thing that a lot of hunters use because they tend to be staying in one specific space where something like this particular one has a 15-yard radius. 15 feet, thank you. I knew as soon as I said that, you'd correct me on the other end over there. A 15 feet radius, which means around my personal space, no matter where I go, as long as I'm not trucking real fast across the farm, as long as I'm hanging out in a specific area, it's gonna give me the control that I need. And then in addition to that, while it's normally against my traditional values to put any kind of spray or anything with any kind of scent or anything on me or around me or in my home, when it comes to mosquitoes, which can be an elevated sense of insecurity, not only is it uncomfortable, but there is opportunity for mosquitoes to give us different types of viruses and disease that we don't want to have to deal with, okay?
And it's just not fun.
Right, it's not fun. They're in your, not even if you spray yourself down, they're still in your face, they're still flying all around you. So I do personal care. I make sure that I cover myself with some good some good repellent. I actually use the hardcore stuff. I use the deep woods. For this time of year, there's no other way to get around it when you do as much work in the gardens as I do. And then I carry around this thermocell with me. And that helps me to keep from doing a broad spray across my yard, where I take something, spray my whole yard down with it, and then it kills everything. And in addition to that, if it rains a couple days later, everything I sprayed down is worthless anyways. So it becomes a non-issue, and now you've wasted money and you've killed bees. And that's a thing that we don't want to do. We want to try to prevent that as often as we can. I personally have an issue with broad spraying in a city space. Now, that could get me into a lot of trouble with a lot of people who disagree with me, but the bees are more important to me than my ability to handle my own space and take care of myself. And that's just my personal opinion about that. Yeah. Did you have a thought about something? Nope.
I stink of off right now, but other than that,
right. It is what it is.
It rained again this morning,
it
so
rained again this morning.
we're dealing with mosquitoes.
And there was a hatch again this morning, and that just is what it is. Okay. Another big conversation that has come up in the recent days in a lot of the backyard garden and farming groups that I've been in is, what do I do about the water standing in my chicken coop? And I've been kind of assertively and forcefully saying over and over and over again, the answer is not to put in more topsoil, although it can be a part of the answer. And the answer is not to use a fully sanded run, although it can be part of the answer. The answer is putting some sort of wood mulch, and up to 12 deep, a deep litter would be 12 inches. Now, one of the things that I might suggest would be that you put sand down underneath it, especially if you're in our area and you're dealing with clay. Now, if you're in a part of our area that has a lot of sand, you don't need to put in sand because you've already got too much sand. And the thing about it is that I handle my chicken run the exact same way I handle my gardens. And the reason is because I want my land on the property that I live in to be healthy, and I want my animals to be healthy. And so I give them every opportunity to be a part of the land as healthy as possible. So my answer to a lot of folks that are asking questions about what to do about standing water in their chicken coops is that if you want to put a layer of sand down on top of the clay, the chickens in your yard and your run have already taken out the grass, because they're going to basically, especially when you're talking about keeping chickens in a very specific area. Now, if you're talking about pasturing your chickens, that's a different conversation. But if you're talking about keeping your chickens in a run, whether it's on a farm or whether it's in a small backyard, they're going to destroy the land, literally. They're going to put pee, poop, ammonia, strong levels of ammonia. They're going to tear up the land. And then as soon as the land dries out, you are going to have a hard, potentially infested with pests and pathogens piece of dirt in your backyard. Okay? And the next time the rain comes, you're going to have the exact same sloppy, disgusting mess out there. So the answer to it is, yes, you could put a layer of sand down. And I actually do like to put a layer of sand down when I'm doing my gardens, especially because I'm on the clay soil everywhere I grow. The sand is good. It helps with draining. It actually does help with some of that drainage. It also puts things into the soil, different types of minerals like gypsum, into the soil that helps the soil to be healthier. But on top of that is where I lay at least 6 inches of organic matter, carbon material, mulch. Now, there's been some discussions about purchasing mulch, and you can. You can purchase mulch from any garden store. Stay away from the dyed mulches. Stay away from the bleached mulches. Anything that they've done to it rather than just chopping up wood and giving it to you, that's all you're looking for. Okay, that's one option. There is another option several people have suggested, and that is at some of the tractor stores or some of the farm stores, you can purchase what would be called like a dried pellet, something they've created. Is that what, like, tell me a little more about that.
Horse pellets is what they're known as. It's a...
and it's something you put in a horse pen, people that are managing horses that are changing out their pens and stalls regularly.
Yeah, whenever we buy inside... Because the words coop and run are sometimes used interchangeably, and they shouldn't be. Right. The coop is the red barn structure there where they sleep at night and lay eggs.
They don't hang out in there. They lay an egg, they sleep there. That's it.
The run is any place that they have the opportunity to run in during the day if it's enclosed, like ours is behind you. Inside the coop, the litter on the ground, on the floor of the coop is... I get it at Tractor Supply. I can show you the bag if we go inside.
That's the litter inside the coop.
Inside the red barn behind you. It is compressed inside the bag, so that if I took that bag home and just dumped it out onto the ground, much more would be on there than what appears to be inside the bag when I buy it.
Right.
So the same thing with these horse pellets, they expand
Right.
when they are disturbed. And I have never used those, but I have seen on some of the message groups and boards that you and I are on about chickening that people are using those, especially when they have a swampy problem in rains like we're getting right now.
Right.
We
So
avoid
they
that
potentially
situation
could be an
entirely.
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but our answer is, and my answer is, because I desire to be a part of the collective expansion of the better planet that we live on. I choose to connect with landscapers, tree trimmers that have bulk loads that they need to put somewhere. So then that helps to keep it out of our landfill system. Even if you've got a composting landfill system, which I'm hoping that we're actually moving that direction down here in our area, you want to try to get access to that material as quickly as you can. We get a dump load put in over here, and then we just put that into our coop, and we put it into our gardens, of course, as well.
And we do that ideally once every X months. X is around 6.
Right. Or when we begin to see an issue, or when we know an event is coming, like a massive freeze or a big flooding or something like that. And I could show you where these areas up here are actually in better shape because we just put a load in. Let's walk over here. So this area would have been standing water because the last time we had some rain flooding event, this area stood water. But now it's not standing any water, but it's nice and healthy underneath here. I mean, even look, here's some of that slime mold, some kind of a mold growing down here. Good stuff, right? All that life is growing down here. But look how much wet, good life. And if my chickens, let's go over there. Let's see if we can get to that space.
Well,
over
while
there.
we're standing over here, do you mind if I say that your run is typically this enclosed area? But we have
Right.
this weirdo,
Yeah, I want to talk
a little
about
bit-
that because I think that's an important part of
but
what
we expand their run. So back here, this is also their run. But see how there is zero green? They will find and take your run down to the dirt. So I'm putting mulch in here, and there are some other spaces as well.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that it's a combination of all the things that they do. They're not eating all that green grass. Some of it is that they're tearing it up and it's dying.
They're
and
looking for
eventually it's
bugs
breaking
underneath
down.
it, and
They're
it
looking for the
dies, yeah.
insects down underneath it. And in addition to that, their waste compacted over and over and over again is going to kill all the green stuff in the ground. It's also going to kill all the life in the ground if you don't put life back into the ground. And so that's an important part. When you have a run where you keep your chickens secluded, you need to create places for them to go out. You need to
Well,
create
and real quick,
places.
while we're standing here, so these exit panels, and I'm sure, Asen, you're about to show us one over in the other area, and the tunnels that you're about to see were the first step on green grass that the chickens tore this down to dirt, and that is where you built these beds.
Yes, and I was able to take those runs. A couple of summers ago, I was very ill, and I wasn't able to take good care of things. And so what I did is I let my chickens out on it, and we just took the tractor right there. That's what we would call the chicken tractor or the playpen, and the run that we use, and we ran them out this door right
And
here,
out the door.
and let them take over this garden and clean it up. And actually, they didn't kill the whole garden. They just cleaned it up for me, weeded it,
Pooped
and now
in
I
it.
can get back into. Then I could get back into planting it when I was ready to get back into planting it. These are all things that we will do out at the farm because my intentions are to have backyard chickens, just like you would have in the city, contained chicken pets that lay eggs for us. Yes, they are taking care of my land. They are feeding me, all of those things. But when you've got a large-scale farm, you might also have some pastured chickens. But in addition to that, you would use these types of things to help you. Right now, I can tell you it would benefit me greatly to have this because what happens is that I can look at my garden spaces. I can see between the rows where I've got a mulched run path, right? And in the middle of that mulched run path, on both sides, I'm letting my lettuce go to seed. So I'm not in there on the ground picking beans every day, but I've got all these weeds that are starting to come up, and I've got different types of insects that are starting to grow in there. So what I can do then, and we talked about doing this last night, we can create almost like a wheelbarrow type of playpen, like this one, but with wheels on it. And then I can roll it to the part of the bigger farm gardens that I need, and then use a closed-in tunnel, put them in there for the day, pull them up to their tunnel, open the flap on the tunnel, and then they can run up and down that row in between the rows and clean it up for me. Which that just helps me, because while I'm over there in the beans, I'm doing a great job keeping the weeds clean, because I'm picking beans, picking weeds, picking beans, picking weeds, picking beans, picking weeds, right? But if I go over to that other space where I'm not really getting in there too much, because there's not a lot of stuff that I'm harvesting, I'm starting to get weeds, and they're growing faster than I can keep up with them. That's where my chickens can help me with that particular situation.
So I'll give you a backyard practical example. Anywhere that you don't want, where there is no bed in this area, we dumped mulch, spread it out. But then I had extra mulch and I spread it on past this border and covered up the St. Augustine grass so that there was a mulch walkway coming out of the main door to the run. And then what's going to happen, especially with the rain that we're getting, is that St. Augustine grass is going to poke its head up through my mulch.
And come over here, because the one that annoys me the most, like the St. Augustine, even if this whole area grew beautiful St. Augustine and we just mowed it, I'd be okay with that. It's this Bermuda grass that is the problem, right? So when the Bermuda grass starts breaking through, and here's the thing, in most areas, especially in South Texas, this invasive grass was grown because it grew easily and the animals would eat it and it was good for them. It's actually highly nutritious and full of protein for the animals. So it's a good animal food, but it's terrible for your gardens. It's invasive, it's a problem, it starts to get in the way of everything, and there's really only one way to get it out, and it is with the animals, because, especially chickens, because they dig down in the dirt, or pigs, because they dig down in the dirt, because it has rhizomes that grow underneath the soil, and you're never going to be able to pull the whole root out, because it's just going to keep going, and it's going to come back again and again and again, and it loves to grow in the mulch. So the only answer I have for solving that particular problem is to have some sort of a run with some beautiful mulch, which means, oh yeah, these babies are going heck yeah, and they're getting down inside this new area. And I will tell you without a doubt, almost 100 times out of all the time, let's just say that, all the time, they're going to run into a hatch of something. Now, it might be a hatch of cockroaches. Good, get those little turkeys out of there. I don't want them coming around my space, right? They're going to run into a hatch of maggots from the flies. They're going to run into a hatch of earthworms. They always do it. They're going to run into a hatch of grubs, of other different types of June bugs and all of that kind of stuff.
The insects that are under our feet right now.
Exactly.
Without us thinking about it.
And they're in the life. They're in the soil. And that's the reason why I tell you to do that for your gardens, because you need that life. You need that soil inside there. And it helps to keep the health of the land really well. When I name all those things, cockroaches are good. They're beneficial in your garden. Earthworms, good, beneficial in your garden. All those things, flies, actually beneficial in your garden. All those things are beneficial in your garden. They're just obnoxious to us. So if we can use the animals to help us tend that, and in addition to that, if I put down a layer of mulch, even if I put it over sand or not, my animals help control the amount of pests that are in their coop. And in addition to that, they eat it. And when they eat it, it means they take protein in, and it means I get access to the protein they ate. So I'm not creating a problem in my backyard. I'm taking care of the land. I'm taking care of the community around me. I'm feeding my animals better. I'm taking away some stuff that would be put into my landfill often, most of the time anyways. And if I have to purchase something, I will purchase it. It's not that big of a deal, but most of the time I can find access to free things like that I'm looking for.
Now the rain has prevented me from being able to mow and weed eat for a week and a half or so. But I would normally take that weed eater and just hit this corner and get rid of that Bermuda grass, but I'm not getting rid of the Bermuda grass. I'm getting rid of the surface Bermuda grass, but there are runners under that mulch that bring it, further in. So what is my solution? I got two solutions. I have two solutions. Number one, I take my rake and I rake all the mulch back, weed eat it more thoroughly, put the mulch back. But you talked about lazy gardening a little earlier.
And sustainability. Your energy is just as valuable. Your labor energy is more valuable than the money you spend.
So I've got the idea of opening up a trap door, a guillotine door, putting and Sid just wrote, I need a chicken tractor. I can tell you that
It's very simple to build.
I know that after the freeze, this kind of PVC kind of skyrocketed for a little while. If those prices have gotten back to normal, then this and this, the PVC portion, cost me $12 and a half a day of labor, half a day of putting my jigsaw puzzle together, my puzzle together, and then that galvanized wire. If you've got chickens, you probably already have half a roll somewhere. It's also the galvanized wire that's on the actual run fence behind you there. That's what you need to protect your chickens. So, you know, again, that chicken tractor is simple. So what I can do then, and this is what we did, was tunnel it out right on top of my mulch pathway. I'm going to leave it there for 2 or 3 days until all of the green is gone, and then I'll move it, rake my mulch back where it needs to go, and call me lazy. I don't care. It's been a perfect way to handle it.
When you do as much gardening and as much outdoor labor as we do, you've got to find places to be lazy. You have to. Otherwise, you'll give up. And that's just the truth of it. And so that's a reason why we come up with all these different ways. Call it lazy, if you will, but the fact of the matter is like I said before, your labor energy is even more valuable than money at this point. We need, I mean, look at the amount of labor we're having issues with in our country. If we don't make thoughtful decisions about how to stop wasting our time, then it's going to be an issue even more than wasting your money. Wasting your time is going to be even more of a problem.
Take a deep sniff right now.
I smell bug spray.
Understood, but do you smell anything odorous that the chickens have created?
Not.
That's the other thing that I love about mulch in the chicken run, is that, and ignore this big pile. We'll handle that pile. It won't be there in a couple of weeks. But
this is my future hugelkultur bottom.
Yeah.
This is the layers of my hugelkultur bed. But in the midst of that, what I can do with this, even, sorry I interrupted you, but
it's
what
fine.
I can do with this is
that
they get in here, they pick off all the seeds. They pick off all of the pests that might cause problems in my garden. They go down inside there. They find things to eat. They used to find lizards. We don't have any lizards right now, so thank God we have flies and mosquitoes so that the toads can make babies and have something to feed their babies so that we can have more lizards in the future. But in the past, they were going after baby lizards all up in here. They're going after cockroaches. They're going after all kinds of things. I mean, let's see. Let's take an example of this right here.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Oh. Hold on, you're moving that stump?
Yep.
Oh, you better get some girls over here, because
come on.
the moment that you...
they're not coming like the dog does.
Okay, but what you have exposed is a wet part of land that they haven't had access to. So once here, she's right behind you. She would love to get over there. She knows what you're up to. But she's going to dig on that for 2 hours. There's some good stuff in there. I interrupted you that time.
And they know that's okay. And they know that. They know that we've turned over something and there's going to be some good stuff in there for them to eat. And that means we're going to have healthier eggs. That means we're going to have healthier soil. That means we're not leaving a big giant clay block full of ammonia when we leave this property in September. We're leaving healthy land. We're leaving land that if you took up the whole entire coop, took down all the wood, and just let the grass grow back out here, they would have the most beautiful grass lawn going right here in the back.
Yeah, we've
now
created
it might be mostly Bermuda grass at this point, but
we've created some of the most fertile land in the city limits, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is what regenerative agriculture is about. So if you're in a large-scale farm situation, this is what regenerative agriculture is about. It's like no matter what you do with your animals, you're leaving the land where they were at better than you found it. You're using them to help you regenerate the land rather than just leaving dead clay topsoil or barely topsoil or even sand that now grows, sticker burrs. And you got a bunch of sticker burrs. In addition to that, and here's the thing I'm going to say again, fleas and lice and ticks love sand. So if you ever get any kind of infestation that takes off before your chickens can knock it out, and oftentimes chickens, especially backyard chickens that are kind of spoiled and will only eat the good stuff, won't eat it anyways, you're going to have a problem. And just because you don't have a problem, just because you haven't had a problem for 20 years,
doesn't mean that the problem's not coming eventually, because sand is not intended to be the healthy long-term space. If you go to the islands where the jungle chickens live, you're going to find, yeah, they hang out in the sand, but they love the jungle. They get all up in all that soil underneath the trees, and they dig and they find pests, and that's where they eat. That's where they really live their lives. Now, yeah, take a day at the beach. It's good stuff, man. And the soil drain, and the sand will drain. That is the truth. The sand will drain. But here's the deal. Where's it draining? What's it taking? And what's the long-term effect of what you're creating on that particular piece of land? So, if you didn't get it already, you know that this is my assertive way of saying that mulch is the answer to taking care of your land when you have animals on it. No matter where your animals are, organic matter, take care of your soil. That's an essential part of having the essential land and the beautiful, healthy land that we all require to live in. Yes.
You missed one essential element of chickens.
Yes.
Get up out of the way, sister.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we get food.
Yes, and please, if you're catching this later, just drop in a hashtag replay, and I will be dropping this over on my YouTube channel, so subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube. You're going to get this about a week late, but today I'm going to drop last week's episode, and I've got a lot of episodes that are coming out. I'm doing all kinds of things. I'm also about to kick off my Voices for Wellness webcast again, so if you're someone that would be interested in speaking about the wellness in your life, your family, you don't have to be a wellness professional. You can just be someone that cares about wellness and wants to share what you know with others. Please reach out to me and let's connect up and create an awesome webcast with you and me. And Dinner Table Talks comes out tomorrow. I am so excited about this episode. I know I say that all the time, but this one's really good. It made me laugh a lot of times while we were editing. Yeah, Joe.
Tiffany has a question. Maybe you'll handle it offline.
Sure.
I bought multiple tons of garden soil from Mother Earth for my 50-foot hugel culture bed.
Yes.
And now it's filled with a horrible weed, nut weed or something. I imagine she
the
means
nut grass,
nut's
yeah.
edge.
Yeah.
Wondering how to get rid of weeds in such a huge area. This might be too much to tackle now. I don't know.
The answer is you pull them out when it's wet and moist and soft. If you don't have plants already on it that your chickens are on, then you have to do it, and that's just really what there is to it. I have nut's edge. That's what it is. I moved in on my farm. I moved in ridiculous amounts. My dad with the tractor and big trucks that delivered, moved in a lot of sand and composted material, and it all has nut's edge in it. And it's just what it is. Nut's edge isn't that big of a deal if you start pulling it out early. Once it gets to the point to start seeding, and here's the answer that I will, the short-term answer I will give you. First of all, while it's raining, do your work then. If it's not raining, wet your land before you do your work, and always hit the things that are seeding first. Go after the seeding plants. Go after the ones where you've got baby plants. Like I mentioned the other day, I've got tiny little basil, right? And all this stuff's starting to come up around it, so I'm going to weed around that basil. So don't worry about the space where you have tall tomatoes growing right now. Worry about the space where you have little basil growing. And take it one step at a time. Don't beat yourself up for it. You'll get through it. You'll get through the weeds just like everything else. But nut's edge is not as bad of a problem as Bermuda grass.
When you pick that nut's edge, you're trying to get the
There's actually a
nut.
But really, just get
all
it out.
the way at the
Listen,
root.
all you're trying to do with nut's edge is to get it out of the way of the plants that are growing up around it. It's not causing really any other problems. So make sure the weeds are getting down, knock it back so that your little baby plants will grow. The rest of it is really not an issue, right? I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic Sunday. I'll see you very soon.